And it's even wilder to note that in 2002, the Inspires ended up outplacing their main inspiration, the Hawthorne Caballeros, at finals.
Wow.
They got 5th place, and Cabs got 6th.
The Inspires wear similar colors, costumes, and play a style many Cabs fans will recognize, and their 2002 production was no exception.
Yeah, they basically out-cabbed the Cabs.
But it was a very healthy rivalry.
Completely.
The Corps met up several times and got along famously. Both groups are such class acts.
It just goes to show that even when crossing oceans, DCA still maintained its community roots.
This is the Marching Revolution podcast.
On the ground with a thunderous beat, hearts in sync, our purpose complete. Map of the future drawn by our stride. Through the struggle we walk unified. Marching forward where no chains
Welcome
can
to the
hold.
Marching Revolution.
The only show brave enough to ask why Drum Corps Planet is even still a thing.
Like the hair on Jimmy Russo's chest, we're standing at attention, probably with the aid of hairspray. But more on the man, the myth, the legend later. Now, it's about me. I'm Edward Michael Francis.
And I, too, am Edward Michael Francis, because apparently one of us had to age out twice.
Please, like we would ever march DCI. Do you think we want to get diddled?
And of course, by diddled, we mean drumming.
Of course. Today's episode is The Shifting Soul, Origins of U.S. Drum and Bugle Corps 1900 to Present, Part 2, DCA and All Age.
Did you get that all out in one breath?
Barely. We're exploring the rise of Drum Corps Associates, how it gave post-junior performers a home, how it kept the community alive, and why its collapse tells us everything about the economics of belonging.
The full article is available at our Patreon, where you can support the Marching Revolution and Marxists at the movies. More on where else you can find us later.
We proudly use generative AI throughout our production, because revolutions are built on tools, not gatekeepers. As a neurodivergent cult survivor with PTSD, our AI workforce helps us maintain a demanding release schedule on our terms.
And as always, special thanks to our feline comrade, Myron Rosander Francis, whose revolutionary tail twitches for every screeching trumpet.
We absolutely need some artwork of Myron in a caballero's sombrero.
Or maybe as a bushwhacker's triple bass drummer?
Yes. Speaking of artwork, get ready for an incredible Myron-related announcement later on. You won't want to miss it.
I'm counting the seconds. Cue the sting. So last time, we talked about how the kids basically staged a coup, told the veterans orgs to kick rocks, and formed DCI in 72. Hey, that rhymes.
Right. The Junior Corps went full corporate with buses, tours, and a centralized model that looked suspiciously like the system they claimed to rebel against.
Yeah, youth-led revolution, my ass. But here's the thing. While that was happening, a bunch of grown-ups were already marching their own rebellion.
The all-age, or as they called it then, Senior Corps.
Right.
These weren't kids aging out. They were the teachers, the factory workers, the parents who never stopped loving the field.
The weekend warriors. The folks who could rehearse on a Saturday, grill some hot dogs, and be back at their 9 to 5 on Monday.
And unlike DCI, DCA's origin story wasn't about chasing corporate polish.
Nope.
It was about keeping the local community heartbeat alive.
Exactly. Remember, this all traces back to the 1920s through the 50s, when Senior Corps were mostly made up of war vets. The American Legion and the VFW ran the whole show.
It was patriotism as performance art. Marching straight lines, brass gleaming, flags waving, and judges inspecting like drill sergeants.
But it worked for a while. those corps were huge. Hawthorne Caballeros, Riley Raiders, they were the rock stars of the parade route.
Until the veterans organizations started losing steam.
Quite right.
The younger guys didn't join the Legion anymore, contests started vanishing, and suddenly the seniors didn't have a championship stage.
Which sounds familiar, right? When a system collapses, the performers always get left holding the rifles.
By the early 60s, frustration was boiling over. Bad judging, scheduling conflicts, zero autonomy. The same problems that made DCI happen were happening to the adults too.
So they said, fine, we'll make our own damn circuit.
And that's how the fuse was lit for Drum Corps Associates.
The grown-ups wanted freedom just as badly as the kids. They just had mortgages while doing it.
And we'll get into how they built that structure and how it changed everything for the community right after this. Picture it. Scranton, Pennsylvania, 1963.
Who are we, Sophia Petrillo?
Please, we can't pull off an old lady wig.
But we've already got the glasses.
True. What were we talking about?
Oh, right. Scranton, Pennsylvania, 1963. The senior corps world is falling apart, the vets orgs are checking out, and a few brave souls decided to meet up in a smoky little room and say, we can fix this ourselves.
Right. That was Dr. Almo Sebastianelli, the Pennsylvania show sponsor, who basically said, if the Legion won't lead, we'll start our own union.
He pulled in the big names. Lefty Mayer from Skyliners, Carmen Cluna from Archer Epler, Randy Roy from the Reading Buccaneers,
Nice.
And George Bull of the Yankee Rebels. It was like the Avengers, but everyone's in a plumed shako.
They weren't plotting rebellion for the sake of drama. They had 5 concrete grievances that were killing the activity.
First up, conflicting contest dates. Corps were double booked, shows cannibalized each other, and nobody could make any money off of it.
Second, inconsistent contest formats. Every sponsor had their own rules, so one week you're scored heaviest on brass precision, the next week on who had the best guard.
Third, the judging. Oh, the judging. Panels were all over the place. Scoring systems changed mid-season, and if Captain Gatekeeper didn't like your uniform, well, good luck breaking 80.
Fourth, prize money was chaos. No transparency, no consistency, and half the time you didn't even know what you'd earned until someone mailed a check a few months later.
And finally, poor relations between corps. The whole thing had become toxic. Rumors, rivalries, everyone guarding their secrets like trade unions from a Marxist fever dream.
So that Scranton meeting was a line in the sand. They followed it up a month later and gave the baby a name. Drum Corps Associates, DCA.
Lefty Mayer took the first presidency with reps from 7 founding corps: Reading Buccaneers, Connecticut Hurricanes, Interstatesmen, Archer Epler Musketeers, Pittsburgh Rockets, Yankee Rebels, and New York Skyliners.
Notably missing, the Caballeros, Sunrisers, Brigadiers, and Rochester Crusaders. All powerhouse corps who looked at this scrappy new circuit and said, have fun, we'll see how you do.
Spoiler, they did great. DCA's first sanctioned show ran in 1964, and by 1965, they were hosting the first official DCA World Championship in Milford, Connecticut.
September 11th, 1965 saw 6 corps in finals.
Sweet.
Reading Buccaneers take the title, Hurricanes second, Skyliners third.
It was poetic justice. The Bucs helped found DCA, then won its first championship, and not to give it away, but they'd go on to win a few more.
Understatement much? That success changed everything. By 66 and 67, the holdouts finally joined, and for the first time, every major senior corps was marching under one banner.
It was a quiet revolution. No walkouts, no lawsuits, no TV coverage, just a bunch of working class musicians deciding they didn't need the military to tell them how to play anymore.
DCA was born from that spirit of self-determination.
Boom.
By the Corps, for the Corps.
And that independence became both its greatest strength and eventually its greatest weakness.
So let's talk about what really made DCA different.
Okay.
If DCI was a summer-long crusade across America, DCA was the block party down the street.
Yeah. It wasn't drum corps as a lifestyle, it was drum corps as a life. You worked your job, you raised your kids, and then on weekends, you threw on the uniform and screamed your lungs out on a football field.
Exactly. DCA was built around what they proudly called the weekend warrior model.
Of course.
You'd rehearse Friday night or Saturday, compete Saturday night or Sunday, then drag yourself to work Monday morning with half a sunburn and a whole lot of brass buzz.
I swear, the Monday after DCA face is a thing. You can spot it at any Wawa or Sheetz in Pennsylvania.
And unlike the juniors, there was no cross-country caravan. These corps stayed regional.
Indeed.
West Shoremen, Caballeros, Crusaders, Brigadiers, they were hometown institutions. Not nomads.
Right, and that's part of why people loved them. You weren't joining a touring franchise, you were joining your local corps. Like, that's our Hurricanes. That's our Buccaneers.
You walk into Legion Post 199 in Hawthorne sometime and tell me you don't feel what we're talking about.
Preach.
The community pride was and is real. And because it was weekend only, the costs were lower, the schedule saner, and the membership broader.
Broader in every sense. DCA was truly all age.
Truly.
Teenagers, parents, retirees, all in the same horn arc. There were literally families marching together. Dad on baritone, daughter on rifle, mom on snare.
We marched in our 20s next to 50, 60, sometimes even 70-year-olds.
DCA always felt safer and far more communal than anything we ever encountered in DCI.
Truth. We always loved that. You'd see gray hair and braces in the same line, and somehow it worked.
Yeah, it gave the activity texture, and it made the whole thing feel less like a finishing school for music majors and more like a town festival.
And that spirit carried onto the field. The shows were built to entertain as much as impress.
Quite right.
You could get Latin jazz from Hawthorne, Broadway melodies from Empire or Bush, pop medleys from Alumni Corps, or pure nostalgia from the Skyliners.
It was part competition, part concert in the park. Nobody was pretending they were auditioning for Juilliard.
No.
They were there to light up a crowd.
But that didn't mean they were behind the times.
Not at all.
Over the years, DCA absorbed the same visual and musical innovations DCI was experimenting with.
Right. Concert brass, synths, amps. DCA allowed all the same toys DCI did.
But somehow, those all-age corps made it work on a budget a fraction the size of the juniors.
And it was this constant cross-pollination. The juniors stole tricks from the seniors borrowed ideas from the juniors, and everyone quietly prayed no one would troop the stands at finals. Bushwhackers.
Oof. Ultimately, DCA became a home for people who loved drum corps but couldn't, or wouldn't, live the full-time tour life.
It was a place where the activity stayed human. You could chase excellence and still have dinner with your family.
The perfect summer experience for anyone who didn't want to give up the drum, the flag, or the joy.
And maybe, just maybe, the last place in the activity where you didn't have to be 21, rich, and taking no dose to belong. So the 60s end, the hair gets longer, and DCA's still marching strong.
Correct.
After that first championship in 65, the circuit starts to snowball. New corps joining, new towns hosting shows, the whole East Coast buzzing every Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, it's wild how fast it stabilized. While the veterans orgs were fading, DCA quietly built a full, functioning league.
Awesome.
By the late 60s, every major senior corps had joined, and the Labor Day Championship became the event.
Mostly East Coast, right? Reading, Hawthorne, Rochester, Syracuse, Harrisburg, Harrison.
Yankee Rebels from Maryland, Kingsmen from New York.
Yeah, with a few Canadians crossing the border for bragging rights. Les Diplomates, Kingston Grenadiers. Those folks showed up to remind everyone the metric system can still swing like a motherfucker.
Exactly. The heart of DCA was New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, with Connecticut and Massachusetts anchoring the rest.
Right.
Every September, Allentown or Scranton turned into this loud, sweaty family reunion of brass players and beer coolers.
And unlike DCI, which turned into a handful of super core hoarding cheap plastic medals they buy on Amazon for 50 cents a piece,
Wah, wah.
DCA had variety. Reading Buccaneers took the first title, sure, but Skyliners, Hurricanes, and Hawthorne all grabbed their crowns soon after.
Caballeros finally got theirs in 1970 after marching since 46.
Wow.
Latin jazz, sequin sashes, and the sheer charisma of Jim Costello.
Legend.
That man could make a parking lot feel like Havana Night.
Yeah, and when James Russo joined them as drum major in 1985...
Girl, Jimmy Russo is a badass.
Yep.
Go look up any Caballeros performance between 85 and 2003.
Quite.
He is electrifying on the podium, and his costumes...
electrifying in other ways.
Oh, no doubt. Often imitated, never duplicated.
We love you, Jimmy.
Truly a DCA legend.
Truly. The 70s and 80s were pure fire in general, though. Sunrisers win back-to-back titles in 77 and 78, and then the Bushwhackers show up in 86, win their first contest ever,
What?
and it just happens to be DCA finals.
That's such a Cinderella story.
Oh, yes.
You've got the Bushwhackers, this scrappy drum corps from North Jersey that rehearsed in a chemical plant parking lot.
Yes! Trichem!
Proving once again that in DCA, it wasn't about your budget, it was the iron of will and strength of character that mattered most.
So much. Then you hit the 90s, and it's the Empire Statesmen and Syracuse Brigadiers trading haymakers. David Bruni, his mustache, and the Statesmen in their formal tuxedos were the showbiz core. Vegas energy in upstate New York.
Meanwhile, the Briggs pull a 4-year streak from 99 to 02.
Amazing.
Same level of intensity you'd see in DCI's World Class, just with more Mustangs and mortgages.
Leadership stayed tight, too. After Lefty Mayer, you had people like Vince Bruni and Mickey Petrone steering the ship.
R.I.P.
Indeed.
Indeed.
Guys who cared about fairness and community as much as scores.
Under them, DCA expanded, added Class A for smaller groups, plus a mini core division.
Lady, you've never seen fierce competition until you've seen DCA Mini Core.
Seriously, Star United is like a religious experience.
Even if they basically do the same show every year.
When it's that good, it gets a pass.
No lies detected.
By the late 80s, you'd have 20 plus cores at finals, sometimes even international guests.
I still love that in 2002 and 2005, the Yokohama Inspires came from Japan, and later the Kids Grow Scouts from the UK.
And it's even wilder to note that in 2002, the Inspires ended up outplacing their main inspiration, the Hawthorne Caballeros, at finals.
Wow.
They got 5th place, and Cabs got 6th.
The Inspires wear similar colors, costumes, and play a style many Cabs fans will recognize, and their 2002 production was no exception.
Yeah, they basically out-cabbed the Cabs.
But It was a very healthy rivalry.
Completely.
The Corps met up several times and got along famously. Both groups are such class acts.
It just goes to show that even when crossing oceans, DCA still maintained its community roots. And regionally, it kept spreading. DCA South, DCA Midwest, suddenly you've got Minnesota Brass, Atlanta Corvettes.
Don't forget the A-class champion, Buccaneers.
Legends. We even had the San Francisco Renegades on the West Coast by 2002.
That was huge.
Indeed.
The Renegades were a breath of fresh air. Velvet Knights by way of a satanic filter.
Yeah, remember Mistress Kelly in the pit?
Oh, we all remember.
Mm-hmm.
And when Minnesota Brass won it all in 2011, first non-Eastern Corps ever,
So good.
that broke Reading's 6-year streak and proved all age could thrive anywhere.
By that point, the Buccaneers had turned into a juggernaut.
Very much.
Dozen-plus titles, precision like clockwork, but every decade still had new challengers. That competitive parity was part of DCA's charm.
It was never a monopoly. It was a mosaic.
And then there were the Alumni Corps.
Oh yeah, the Alumni Spectacular. Where else can you see 70-year-olds blasting G bugles louder than 1,000 Buicks?
Those performances kept the soul alive. Nostalgia, humor, and genuine love of the craft.
Oh yes.
Corps like the Caballeros alumni, Buccaneers alumni, Chicago Royal Airs, the Freelancers, or Mighty St. Joe's would bring the crowd to its feet every single year.
Hey, remember when Steve Rondinero showed up on baritone with the Hamburg Kingsmen in 2023?
Oh my Satan, for a DCI legend like that to take stock in what the alumni movement was selling is so very telling.
Totally. It captured what DCA was all about. This mix of competition and community. Excellence and joy.
Amen, sister.
You didn't age out, you just aged with it.
And for a long time, that balance worked.
Until it didn't.
And we'll talk more about that after the break. Sup, band geeks? Are you a fan of all things dramatic?
Do you love analyzing the politics behind film, TV, music, video games, and books?
Then you'll love our sister podcast, Marxists at the Movies.
It's the same basic format. 2 hosts, 1 Edward.
Same revolutionary energy, just with popcorn instead of prop carts.
We tear into the media we grew up with all the way to the present day to expose the systems of power under the plot lines.
Think design critique, but for good burger.
New episodes drop every Saturday on Patreon, with a wide release the following Wednesday.
If you've ever exclaimed, "Point Break was propaganda, comrade," then this show's for you.
For more information, visit cinemarchmedia.com and patreon.com/cinemarchmedia.
And you can find both podcasts on TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts,
and everywhere else you get your nerd audio.
Marxists at the Movies. What the script doesn't tell you.
Check it out today.
Welcome back. Fast forward to the 2000s. The cracks start to show. DCA is still alive, still proud, but holding the ship together starts feeling like a second full-time job.
Yeah, the all-age model was beautiful in theory, but reality hit hard.
Quite right.
The Corps weren't getting older, they were getting younger because they had to compete with the juniors to survive.
Indeed. DCA and DCI were fishing in the same talent pool, and the juniors had the flash, the tours, and the clout. To keep up, DCA Corps started upping the ante. Bigger props, amps, electronics, expanded brass lines.
And that changed everything.
The shows got more complex, more demanding, more expensive, until the all-age model wasn't really weekend warrior anymore.
Nope.
It was try to fit a world-class product into a 24-hour work week.
Groups like Reading and Hawthorne are basically marching DCI-level programs on part-time schedules. Incredible art, but brutal logistics.
Yeah, those cores proved that all age could go toe-to-toe with the juniors in design and performance,
But
it also priced out the very people the circuit was built for.
the working adults, remember them? They started disappearing, not because they stopped loving it,
No.
but because it stopped fitting their lives.
And that was the irony. DCA became so good at being competitive that it slowly lost the community base that had made it special.
It was still all age in name, but the culture was shifting closer to the juniors every year. Many corps folded, including the DCA World Champion Cadets 2.
And say what you want about George Hopkins, but Cadets 2 were the real deal. We miss both Cadets corps so much.
So much. And the economics were sobering. Even for weekend-only corps, the bills were climbing.
They were.
Equipment, travel, insurance, everything cost more, and the budgets never caught up.
The Sunrisers, Bushwhackers, even Skyliners, each of them faced stretches where they went dark or barely made it through the season. By 2019, championships had maybe a dozen corps where there used to be 24.
Which is heartbreaking, because that wasn't from lack of love. It was from exhaustion. You could only fundraise so many chicken dinners before you realize the fryer's empty.
And the audiences were shrinking too.
Quite right.
DCA still packed crowds in upstate New York and Pennsylvania, but outside those hot zones, drum corps had faded from public view.
Meanwhile, DCI had the national spotlight. The tour buses, the merch, the streaming deals. DCA had become the older sibling quietly paying bills, while the little brother got all the
They
attention.
tried adapting, co-hosted shows, hybrid events, even streaming finals. But the numbers didn't lie.
No.
Ticket sales and participation were sliding year after year.
Then came 2020.
Boom.
COVID hits, and the entire season gets wiped out. No rehearsals, no championships, just silence.
The 2021 virtual season helped morale, but it didn't fix the financial hole.
It did not.
A lot of corps were already on thin ice, and the pandemic cracked it wide open.
By the early 2020s, even DCA leadership admitted it was unsustainable. Fewer corps, fewer fans, and sponsors struggling to field complete lineups.
At the same time, DCI's open class was fighting the same battle.
Good point.
Small circuits, smaller audiences. They were left trying to justify independent events.
Both organizations finally looked around and said, wait a second, we're bleeding separately when we could survive together.
The missions had converged. Both wanted to keep drum corps alive. The question became how to merge without losing DCA's soul.
Which is harder than tuning a Daig baritone in August. Now, 2023. After nearly 60 years of calling its own shots, Drum Corps Associates walks up to Drum Corps International and says, all right, let's do this together.
Are you sure it wasn't, all right, we surrender?
Well,
I mean, we could ignore the fact that this effectively created a monopoly within the drum corps activity, eliminating DCI's last main competitor.
but that's not really our style, is it?
No, it's not. So let's be upfront. We don't think this partnership will be sustainable in the long term.
Agreed. So in 2023, DCA went to DCI.
Yeah, May 2023 marked the official partnership.
Okay.
DCA joins DCI, and the phrase all age class enters the DCI vocabulary for the first time.
Which, let's be real, sounds polite and corporate until you realize what it actually meant. The end of DCA as an independent body.
Exactly. The final standalone DCA championship happened that same year in Rochester. The curtain call for 59 years of history.
And in perfect, full circle fashion, the Reading Buccaneers won that last title.
Nice.
The same corps that took the very first championship back in 1965.
You couldn't script that better. Poetic? Maybe, but also kind of tragic.
Now those same corps still march weekends, still use their own judging sheets, but they perform on DCI's stage, sharing August finals instead of holding that old school Labor Day weekend showdown.
To be fair, the all-age class does get more visibility in this deal.
True.
Indie crowds, streaming coverage, bigger spotlights.
Which is a good thing, right? For years, DCA was like the secret second cousin no one talked about. Now, they're part of the family photo at least.
Sure, but let's talk about sustainability.
Yeah?
The question remains, can DCI sustain the all-age movement and give them what they need?
Right. Can they all make that expensive trip to Indy for championships every year?
Can they maintain their talent pools now that they're competing even more directly with junior corps for members?
That's a huge question. The jury is still out on that one, but I think the more important issue is that of independence.
Precisely. The real price of admission to DCI was independence. DCA was founded to get away from centralized control, and now it all lives under one big monopoly.
That's the heartbreak of it. They built their own house in '63, and 6 decades later, the landlord moved in.
You can call it evolution. You can also call it history eating its young.
And it fits the broader pattern.
Yeah.
Pageantry circuits consolidating, local shows fading, national brands swallowing regional voices.
The same logic that runs capitalism. Centralize, streamline, package it for mass consumption.
Meanwhile, the local flavor, those tiny shows in Allentown parking lots with folding chairs and trumpet echoes off the high school bleachers, well, that's the stuff that made this whole thing worth doing.
Still, for the corps that survived, this merger gives them oxygen, keeps the horns up, the flags flying, the dream alive.
Yeah, and Satan bless the 50-year-olds still loading the truck in August heat.
Amen.
They're the last of the true believers.
DCA may be gone, but the all-age soul, the stubborn, hometown weekend warrior energy, that still marches on.
I can picture Myron at Reading rehearsal now, critiquing intervals from their cat bed.
You know, they would get a staff spot and not tell us.
Myron can't be bothered with phone calls or email. Too bourgeois.
Yeah, or too much effort.
Well, Myron knows that your labor value is not your personal value.
But Myron wouldn't accept less than what they're worth.
Oh, no.
No $500 tech fees for this kitty.
As it should be.
If you've marched this far with us, you've earned your patch. You've survived tempo shifts, history lessons, and at least 3 emotional key changes. One of them C flat.
And that means you're ready to join the cause.
But before we go into that, we have an exciting Myron announcement.
That's right, folks. You all love Myron, our favorite non-binary orange and white tabby comrade. And you know, we do too.
That's why, in the interest of making sure they get their monthly treat repository, we're launching
Myron merch.
That's right. Head on over to our website, www.cinemarchmedia.com/Myron merch, for more information on how you can place your pre-orders.
We've got 4 adorable revolutionary t-shirt designs featuring the commie kitty of the moment, Myron. They're ready to press, and the pre-order response has been overwhelming so far. Visit today.
That's cinemarchmedia.com/Myron merch. You can also head to cinemarchmedia.com to keep this revolution spinning with a donation or a subscription.
You can also visit us at patreon.com/cinemarchmedia for even more of what you love. The $6 tier gets you early access to articles and updates, kind of like standing in the pit during warm-up instead of waiting in line at the gate.
The $10 tier gets you early audio, bonus content, and of course, both tiers enjoy the occasional unscheduled cameo from our orange and white commiserate, Myron Rosander Francis, who's still planning to overthrow Captain Gatekeeper and nationalize the treat supply.
Your support keeps the lights lit and the feline fed.
Tell them where else they can find us.
You can find the Marching Revolution and Marxists at the Movies on TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, basically anywhere you can hear people roast capitalism with good diction.
And don't forget the website, cinemarchmedia.com, where you'll find the full articles, merch, and Myron's increasingly militant demands.
Honestly, you don't want to piss that cat off.
Yes, but like any real cat, Myron is anyone's friend if they have snacks.
Always snacks. You know, it's funny.
What's funny?
DCA may be gone on paper, but it never really left the field. The all-age corps that now fly DCI banners are still marching the same mission their founders dreamed up in Scranton back in '63.
Yeah, that idea of inclusivity, of building a home for lifelong performers, it's still alive.
Preach.
The shifting soul of drum corps just happens to live inside a different body now.
If the 70s were about freedom and creativity, and the 90s were about polish and perfection, then this era is about consolidation. Everyone huddling together under one tent, trying to survive the storm.
And maybe that's okay. For now.
What choice do we really have?
Quite right. Drum corps has always evolved by contradiction, tradition and reinvention, rebellion and reunion.
DCA embodied that perfectly. It started with veterans marching patriotic anthems, then welcomed women, kids, jazz, classical, Broadway tunes, all of it. It was never afraid to change, just afraid to lose the people it was built for.
That's what made it sacred. DCA wasn't just a circuit. It was a social fabric.
Tell it.
Working class musicians side by side on a field that didn't care what you did from 9 to 5.
Every Labor Day, those shows were like time capsules. It was community in 4/4 time.
The merger might keep the name alive, but something deeper got lost. The independence, the civic heartbeat, the space that wasn't owned by branding or tuition fees.
DCA was the last great experiment in drum corps belonging to the people.
Say it again.
No corporate gatekeepers, no mandatory youth pipeline, just a bunch of humans who refused to age out.
Its disappearance isn't a triumph of unity, it's a contraction of diversity.
Yeah. We didn't just lose an organization. We lost a mirror of what community art can look like when it's completely alive.
The shifting soul of drum corps is still out there somewhere. Maybe not in a boardroom, but in a weekend rehearsal, a local field.
Think of it.
A warm-up arc under the lights.
Where it always belonged.
And if DCI really wants to honor what DCA stood for, it's time to adopt some of those all-age values across every division.
Yeah. Ditch the endless touring hamster wheel and start building communities again.
For real.
Stop chasing miles and start chasing meaning.
There's solid research showing that the more adults kids are surrounded by, the safer they are.
Correct.
Not just instructors, real adults, mentors, peers with life experience.
But DCI's structure does the opposite. It isolates teenagers in buses and gyms for months with minimal oversight, running them through exhaustion under the banner of education.
And that system has bred harm.
Oh, yes.
Sometimes subtle, sometimes outright abusive. And pretending it's just part of the tour isn't an excuse. It's negligence.
Bringing in more adults, shortening the tour, and focusing on local engagement wouldn't weaken the experience.
Not at all.
It would save it.
And we can say that from experience. We marched DCA for 6 seasons, and while plenty of it still carried those high control tendencies,
Oh, yeah.
it felt infinitely safer than anything we experienced on a DCI tour.
Totally. There was structure, sure, but there were also adults. Real adults with boundaries.
The culture wasn't perfect, but it was grounded. You went home Sunday night. You saw your family.
And that grounding made all the difference. You could be passionate without being consumed.
Exactly. If DCI learns anything from DCA, it should be that maturity and community are strengths, not liabilities.
The future of drum corps can't just be faster and younger. It has to be wiser.
What did we learn today?
That if you give a bunch of veterans some bugles, they'll accidentally invent a culty art form.
That adults can absolutely rebel, just slower and with more gold bond.
That the Reading Buccaneers are apparently immortal and possibly sustained by brass resonance and diddles alone.
And that Weekend Warrior might sound casual, but it's actually the purest kind of devotion. People giving their only free time to keep something beautiful alive.
We learned that DCA was proof that drum corps could still be about people before prestige.
Its merger with DCI doesn't erase that legacy. It just changes the jersey. But every local show, every alumni performance, every over-caffeinated Saturday morning rehearsal, that's where the spirit still lives.
So wherever you are, whether you're teaching, judging, or just watching videos at 3 a.m., remember, the soul of this thing isn't owned. It's shared.
You can find the Marching Revolution and Marxists at the Movies on TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. Full articles and more are always at cinemarchmedia.com, and our Patreon is patreon.com/cinemarchmedia.
Myron says to follow, subscribe, and support the revolution, or face the jagged claw of justice.
This has been the Marching Revolution.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Marching Revolution podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Through the struggle, we walk unified. Marching forward where no chains can hold. Hands in the dirt, we carve out gold. From the ashes we rise, we sing. For the power of the people is everything. Flags that wave like the dawn's first light, guiding us through the endless night. Every step shakes the earth awake. Our voices roar for justice's sake. Marching forward where no chains can hold. Hands in the dirt, we carve out gold. From the ashes we rise, we sing. For the power of the people is everything. The rhythm of hope, it pounds in our chest. We won't stop until we've done our best. The world is ours to turn to flame, and from it we'll forge a brand new name. Yeah! Grasp the future, the wheels won't stall. Shoulder to shoulder, we answer the call. Brick by brick, through sweat and strive. In unity, together we thrive.
Copyright 2025, Cinemarch Media.